For example, on the range with the wild horses, studs to colts,
Yeah.
and it's like sexist, right? But it's a protecting their own herd and their
Yeah.
genetics.
Yeah.
If a colt is born, there's a good chance it'll get killed.
Oh,
The stallions will kill them
right.
because,
Don't want a competition.
yeah, you're competition.
Right.
And when they hit a year old,
Yeah.
the stallions will kick them out of the herd.
Yeah.
Like they're gone. So we have bachelor stud herds.
Yeah.
And it is all these little studs
Yeah.
who have been kicked out of their herds, go
Yeah.
and create their own little herd
Yeah.
and wander around
Yeah.
because their dads have kicked them out.
Right.
Because they are now competition because they are old enough to breed.
It seems to be a common thing, actually. I've heard that quite a bit.
Yeah, and it happens. I've seen it happen lots.
Mm-hmm.
Or if a foal is born and something is wrong with it, and it might not be something that you see. I see this even down in the States. People get upset when they see on the range that a stallion is killing a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens.
I've never seen that, but that would be terrible to watch. Yeah.
But what they don't see, or they'll abandon them, they'll take their herd and they'll force them to leave that baby behind.
Yeah.
And the reason they do it is there's something wrong.
Right.
Like,
So we don't pass on the bad genetics.
yeah, it
Right.
could be something like internally, genetically,
Yeah.
immune-wise. They can sense that it's the weak link.
Something's up. Yeah.
Something's wrong. It's not right.
Yeah.
And they will abandon it. They will kill it. And it's hard. Like, and we get it quite a bit.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, like, how do they know? And people often try and intervene and, I'll try and save the baby.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time they won't make it because there is something maybe
Something's wrong.
underlying that you don't know. It could be neurological, it could be immune.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I wasn't aware of that.
And there's a lot, like, it's crazy genetically what's out there and what can intervene. Like, we had one stud that we did have to remove.
Yeah.
And it was, so I lost 2 babies that had just been placed into their homes.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, well, one was still with me when it happened, one wasn't.
Yeah.
Like, this baby went downhill fast, like out of nowhere. And I had no idea why. And I tried everything. I had vets out. I had a stall set up in my garage.
Yeah.
And this baby was eating wonderfully, drinking wonderfully, but just like dropping weight like crazy. Got to the point where it couldn't get up on its own. I had to help her get up constantly. And she just got worse and worse and worse and worse and passed away. And there was, it seemed like nothing I did helped. I was trying everything. I had vets out. We were trying to figure out what was going on. We had no idea. And the first sign was all of a sudden she's blue, multiple abscesses in all her legs.
Whoa.
And it was like,
Why?
and we finally figured it out when we lost the second one,
Yeah.
the vet at the coast who she used at the time, I'm not sure who it was, and I can't remember the name of it, but it is a genetic disorder similar to the idea of like a lethal white,
Oh.
where they have a gut issue.
Yeah.
So these babies were thriving out on the range.
Yeah.
They got brought in,
Yeah.
we dewormed them. We killed off the worms in their guts. Well, those worms were actually keeping them alive. They had a genetic thing that they were not absorbing nutrients of their food.
Yeah.
They could eat it, the worms would digest it,
Yeah.
and they would get the nutrients.
Oh, wow.
As soon as you kill the worms, they could eat and eat and eat, and they digest it all, but they weren't absorbing the nutrients from it. So no matter how much they ate, they starved to death.
That's insane.
And all it was is, I intervened.
'Cause
I
human
dewormed them.
intervention. Yeah.
Like, it is incredible. And even, I actually had this conversation with a meat buyer that he had with a slaughterhouse that when they came in, they couldn't believe the amount of worms in some of these wild horses.
Yeah.
Like, it's incredible. They're like, how? How are they thriving and functioning?
Yeah.
But naturally, their body is like,
No problem.
I can figure this out.
Yeah.
But yeah, we lost 2 babies and we found out it was genetic.
But it is a problem. It's not a norm.
And
it's
that
a
was
problem.
it was an abnormal thing and it was genetic. And it was something that both the mom and dad had to be carriers of. Well, when you
Oh.
have a herd situation, it is hard to remove all the mares. It's easier to remove the stud.
Yeah.
So we got rid of the stud,
Ah.
right? Because then
If
we're
only
not,
one carries it.
and
yeah.
we haven't had that issue since.
Okay.
Like
Good.
I haven't encountered that since. We only had 2, and that was 5, 6 years ago.
Such an interesting
Yeah.
problem.
And it was very unique, right? Like
That is a very, I've
Yeah.
never heard of such a thing.
yeah, and the worms literally are what kept that baby alive until I intervened. And as soon as I killed the worms, I accidentally killed the horse.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, what people are like, oh, feed them, or they want to drop feed on the range, or they want people to intervene. But intervening
Yeah.
can actually cause more damage than good
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
If people go out and feed, if you're not doing it right,
Yeah.
you can kill them.
I've heard that. Yeah.
If you go and drop a nice, rich, high alfalfa bale out in the range,
Yeah.
and those horses eat it,
Yeah.
there's a good chance they're all going to colic
I've heard that. Yeah.
because their bodies are not used to it. They are used to a dry field grass, like natural grasses that are found on the ranges.
Yeah.
So if you start introducing other things, especially if you do it too fast,
Yeah.
their guts can't handle it.
Right.
Deworming, you want to make sure you're not doing it too hard, too fast,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
grains, introducing grains, you don't want to just overload their system. It's just like
Yeah.
a domestic horse who's been starved. There's something called refeeding syndrome,
Take your time. Yeah.
right? You take your time to get them back up because if you just start pumping things into them, their bodies can't handle it.
It makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.